Yellen preparing to step down, but you can go ahead and prepare yourself for more winning next year. 2018 will be another strong year for the global economy. That is according to an analyst at Goldman Sachs. Let's bring in today's panel. Scott Martin from Kingsview Asset Management. He's also a Fox News contributor, and Liz Peek from the Fiscal Times. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Liz, they said 2017 shaping up to be the first year of expansion in which growth surprises to the upside. What do you think?
Yeah, high time, too. After 8 years when every single year the second half came in below expectations, finally, we have sentiment and the economy moving in the right direction. And by the way, it isn't just Goldman Sachs that's seeing good numbers here. The Industrial Production Index just scored a very big gain in October. Leading indicators are up strongly in the last month, which is a very precursor for a good precursor for the next 12 to 18 months. All signals are green right now, including, by the way, this indomitable stock market, which gives people a good feeling of increased wealth and will, I think, be very good for holiday spending. So It isn't surprising.
Scott says global economy, or Scott, they say that you probably agree, that the global economy will grow at 4% next year for a bunch of different reasons. Do you think it'll be that robust?
I do agree. I think those numbers are in the cards, Melissa. But you know what's funny? Like with the things Liz was saying, I mean, these are almost times, though, guys, I run the other direction. Because if you look back in history, say the last few years, the economy was supposed to be stinky. The market not so good. And what's happened? Yeah, the economy hasn't been great, but the market's been pretty good. So I think you gotta kind of take a slice of what do we want here? Do we want a really good economy and a really good market? Yes. But does that typically happen? I'm not so sure. So I take these with a grain of salt. If it looks so obvious, sports fans, it usually isn't. So I'd pack a little bit of patience at the door
for
at least some sort of pullback in 2018.
That's smart. David.
All right. Well, growing concerns over the Senate tax plan. 5 or 6 Republican senators still not fully on board. So what can be done to win them over? Our own Adam Shapiro is live on Capitol Hill with the very latest. Hi, Adam.
Hey, let's say 7, actually, who are uncommitted to where they will stand when this comes to the floor of the Senate for a debate and then for a vote, David. So let's take a look. We've got a baseball card of who's, so to say, on the fence. You've got there Ron Johnson, who originally said no. He's walking back his no a little bit, and we're told from sources on the Hill that they expect him to become a yes. Then you got John McCain, who's also said that he would not be stopped by the repeal of the individual mandate, could still possibly vote for this. Bob Corker, dead hawk. You got Lisa Murkowski, who's expressed some concerns over the repeal of the individual mandate. She's going to get drilling in Anwar. She's expected actually to be a yes. And then, of course, you've got Susan Collins and Jeff Flake. Now, let's talk about Susan Collins. Susan Collins is probably the one you can count on being a no for all kinds of reasons. But here's what she said over the weekend about what it would take for her to get to yes, and it involves raising the proposed 20% corporate tax rate.
I also think the reduction in the business tax rate is too steep, and that we could go to 22% and then use that money, which is about $200 billion, to restore the tax deduction for state and local property taxes.
And, David, the wheeling and dealing, even though they're not here right now, the wheeling and dealing is underway as they write the legislation that they'll debate on. Mick Mulvaney over the weekend actually said that the administration would be open to giving up the repeal of the Obamacare individual mandate if it meant passage of tax reform. Here's what he said.
If we can repeal part of Obamacare as part of a tax bill and have a tax bill that is still a good tax bill that can pass, that's great. If it becomes an impediment to getting the best tax bill we can, then we're okay with taking it out.
So, David, when we talk about the wheeling and dealing that is underway, it's like a used car lot. And this is going to be a much different bill after the Senate votes on it and the House then come into a conference committee. The question, I guess, if we're going to use the car lot analogy, is are you getting a Cadillac or are you getting a Pinto? Back to you.
If you can move it off the showroom floor, to finish the analogy there. Adam, thank you very much. Scott and Liz are back with us. Liz, first of all, what do you think of Susan Collins? She wants to, I guess she wants to bring the corporate rate down to 22%. That's off of the 20% rate that the president said is not negotiable. But would a 22% rate kill you?
Wouldn't kill me. I think there is a legitimate issue in this bill that it favors corporations at the expense of individuals. And I think you've seen that manifest itself a lot of different ways. Actually, oddly, Susan Collins was talking about the SALT, the state local tax deductions,
right,
being what she was not in favor of, because most people, I think, would think she would be concerned about the Obamacare repeal. But I think if there's a little bit of juggling here, a little more for the individual, maybe a little bit less for the corporate tax rate, 22% is still a pretty good competitive rate, and that would not kill me.
Scott, you know, more than the rate, a lot of people are concerned about the timing of it. The Senate plan delays it for a full year. Art Laffer on this show said that if you do that, you risk a recession because all these businesses will put off business decisions until the rate comes down.
And, David, we've all learned the fancy things that happen within a year. I mean, any given year in today's environment, my goodness, that could change everything. So Art Laffer has a good point. And something that Liz said, though, kind of bothers me a little bit in the sense that, David, if you treat businesses better in this country because they've been treated so poorly the last 8, 12 years with respect to taxes, with respect to regulation, that's going to help the individual. That's going to help the small business man or woman with respect to spending and growth and wage growth and hiring.
I don't think Liz would disagree with you on that. Liz, you don't disagree with that,
David,
do you?
No, I clearly don't. I mean, I'm sort of in Ron Johnson's camp that all businesses should be treated more fairly, and I think that's what a lot of people would like to see, including individuals.
Finish up your point, Scott. Go ahead.
Well, and we start there with this repeal, with bringing down the tax rates, and that's why whether it's 20 yes or 22, Liz is right. It's probably this and that, but the reality is this: it's got to get cut. And you're right, David. It cannot be cut at the end of 2018. It has to be cut in January.
Right. Well, by the way, it started with the deregulation policies. That's why the market has gone up 5,000 points since the election, I think. But we definitely need something to keep this rally going. Scott and Liz, good to see you both. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.